right, you William Wallace warmongers, it's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Pat Sellers.
I'm Simon Blanford.
And I'm Sean Kelly. And we wish it was the 90s. Tēnā koutou katoa. Let me take you back to People magazine's sexiest man, Bradley Abs Pitt. Blue M&Ms were introduced. Amazon.com and eBay.com went online. And Pizza Hut introduced their famous stuffed crust pizza. That's right. The Wish It Was the 90s Awards show is tackling the year of the food poisoning, the year of the acquittal, 1995.
Fuck, I did the right year.
Topical, I must say, at time of recording, we are less than 12 hours from the 2023 Rugby World Cup final, where South Africa and New Zealand will face each other once again in a World Cup final for the first time since 1995. That might come up later, it might not. It's still a bit of a sore spot. But let me remind you now, before we get stuck in, to like, follow, and subscribe. Rate, review. Remember, say what you want, but 5 stars is important to us. We're on all the socials at WIWT90s, which it was the 90s. TikTok's going off a little bit now that I've started posting Batman content. And further to all of that, remember, in the awards shows, these are just our opinions, and we encourage you to share your opinions with us. But we'd also like to remind you that if you disagree with us, you are wrong. We've got a number of categories: music, film, TV, gaming, sport, history, pop culture, and an overall winner. Some of those later ones might get tossed off because it's a late start for us, because who would be a parent?
What's getting tossed off?
No comment. It'd be orange content at this point, maybe Sky One. I can't remember when the change. Anyway,
The box.
before we get stuck into the first category of music, does anyone just have any general thoughts about 95 sticks out to me personally. I don't know if it's because of the Rugby World Cup or it was just that, 8 years old. You start to really start remembering things when you hit that sort of 7 or 8 years old point. But 95 sticks out to me for a lot of reasons that we'll come to. But has anyone else got any sort of just general 1995 thoughts before we get stuck in?
I agree that it is an age where you do everything starts to kind of stick. But I think I'll come to it in my categories. I think.
The one thing that sticks out is I'm pretty sure the old man's still running the Colgate Games 1995 T-shirt on occasion. Always.
I thought you were about to say the old man's still running Windows 95.
That wouldn't surprise me either.
No, I think, we can cover it in the as we go along. I'm very excited. I was trying to think back to our previous awards shows, and in what order did we put 91 and 97? We put 97 over 91, didn't we?
We did.
So at the end of this, we're going to have to decide whether 95 is over 97. And I can't remember what we talked about in the 97 podcast, so that'll be fun.
Have a listen. Go back to the archives. Have a listen. See what you think.
But if you don't have time, I think it's just a lot of us pumping up the tires of girl power.
Yeah, that's right. The Spice Girls won.
Speak for everybody else. Mainly Sam Blanford and Sean Kelly, if I recall correctly, Pat.
Maybe Sam, after this one, we can start recording those winners. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of egg in our face when we finish this awards season in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I hear that.
Right, so we're gonna jump into music, and we've got best single and best album as our categories. We'll start with best single, and we'll start with Pat.
The music category I thought was pretty interesting because I've got a long list on the album side, but I stopped at one song for the singles because I think I only need one. It's got to be Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise.
That's a
Only
2
single
from
I
Bob.
needed.
3 from me.
Yeah, and it's a
Whoa!
clean sweep of Gangster's Paradise, ladies and gentlemen. First ever.
Coolio's
Can
done
I
the
just
Grand Slam.
can I give you some Gangsters Paradise context from my perspective? I recall being at the McSweeney's house, as I often was for most of my 90s memories, recording it on the radio with a tape recorder, and then spending the entire night listening to, rewinding, and pausing so we could write the lyrics down on paper and then recite them to our parents as if they were impressed that we knew the words to Gangster's Paradise.
Oh, that's fantastic. I had a lot of honourable mentions, but did you not write anything else other than that one, Pat?
That's correct.
Me too.
That's all I needed.
I've got a lot of honourable mentions, but I think we can save that for just the music category in general. We get through albums, then we can just do our honourable mentions. I think because it's taken me a while to reread my notes at the moment. So, Pat, best album.
Best album there's going to be a long list of honourables, surely. And I know Sam before.
I've got 3, and I'm hoping that 2 of them are mentioned by you guys, so I don't have to choose.
Yeah, well, we already know from the pre-match before we started recording that Sam just couldn't stop talking up R. Kelly's R. Kelly album. But why?
Don't get us cancelled, Sam.
Hey! Pat's talking about R. Kelly and tossing off.
This is one of the first albums I bought anyway, and it was on cassette. Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette.
Pretty good album.
That's definitely on my list, man. That album slaps, as they say.
So good. Is the one there she sings naked on that one?
Oh, is that the second album that's less ex-boyfriend grumpy?
Great tune. A lot of those on Jagged Little Pill, but I'm going to go. Mine was Tragic Kingdom, no doubt.
Oh wow!
Fantastic album. Yep. Yeah, that's a
So
great album, Sammy. Yeah, so this is good that we don't have all the same albums like we did have the same single. I have Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Homer Simpson smiling politely. The Smashing Pumpkins.
Phenomenal. So like I said, I had 3. One of them was Jagged Little Pill. I'm going to have to go with my gut here, and my picks. What's the Story? Morning Glory.
And look, I don't think can there be an argument with any of those 4?
I mean, the one I left out, Cracked Rear View by Hootie and the Blowfish,
No.
warrants a massive mention.
Did you two not bring out an album 95, Bob?
No, it goes 93, 97, Pat.
All right, yeah. I was expecting to be some random U2 album.
And our listeners are ever grateful for that, Pat.
Don't worry, they released a song though, but it's not even in my honourable mentions.
Great review. So many sing-alongs to that in the early 2000s.
I mean, my indoor cricket team, the Cowboys, still drop a knee and finish a beer every time Let Her Cry comes on.
So, what a song.
My only other honourable mention, album-wise, was Pieces of You debut album of Jewel.
What a song! What an album! That album has got 3 absolute banging tracks on it. One of them overrated. Who Will Save Your Soul? Bit overrated. Obviously, Foolish Game's great, but underrated. You Were Meant for Me. Absolute banger.
My only other album honourable mention is History by Michael Jackson, which is the sort of semi greatest hits, but quite a lot of new music as well. And that was the first tape I ever bought. It was 2 tapes. And then 2 years later, I actually went to the concert of that tour. That's how long that tour went for.
That's a great year for albums. That's fantastic.
And songs.
Yep.
I've got a lot of honourable mention songs.
Yeah. Let's get into the songs then. Sammy, you go first. You've got a lot.
Well, I had Let Her Cry, Hold My Hand, Waterfalls by TLC,
Yeah, good.
Big Popper, Notorious, Kiss from a Rose, Seal, Zombie, Cranberries.
I've definitely got Zombie, the Irish rugby
and-
theme song, apparently.
All right. R.I.P. Dolores O'Riordan.
and Boombastic, Shaggy.
I've got Bombastic.
I had that album. We had that on tape, Sam.
Yeah, and I remember you left it in the sun and it warped real bad.
Yes. Sad day.
Did you have it on tape so that you could rewind it to take down all the lyrics?
The only other song mentions that you missed were I had One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Boys to Men, and I absolutely fizzed for that. And How Bizarre by OMC.
Oh, nice.
What's out of Millionaires Club?
And an album I missed, but it doesn't. I don't think it counts. That's why it's in the honourable mentions. But it was the first compilation album produced out of New Zealand called Bliss, 20 Essential New Zealand Classics. And I challenge you to look it up and have a look at the tunes on that.
True Bliss, did you say? True
No,
Bliss.
don't get ahead of yourself. Just Bliss, as in, drink yourself more bliss. You're at the sevens.
If it's got that song on it, it must be crap. Fuck, I hate that song.
Can I throw in a dishonourable mention to the list, if that's all right?
Surely.
I mean, this song is the worst song of all. It's my most hated song ever. I hated it when it came out. It still gets played at my kids' discos. The Macarena. The Macarena is just a hateful, hateful song. And even it comes, I don't even know why it comes on. Everyone groans and reluctantly does the moves. It's just a hateful song and it can go to hell.
Yeah, good segue.
Into Sam kicking off the film category, which we have animated film and just film, I guess. We'll start with animated.
Okay. I think we're getting our second clean sweep here. It's got to be Toy Story.
Pat's dead.
I had it tied up, but I think I'm going to go with Casper as a very uber 90s film. Probably I feel like it was like Toy Story's gone on for so long, you don't sort of think about it as just 90s. Casper, I was like, that's uber 90s, so I'm going to go with that.
Casper, are you talking Casper the one that's Casper's animated but everyone else is real, or is there an animated Casper movie?
No, Casper's animated.
It's a dodgy
and all the other ghosts, there's like the skinny guy and shit.
That's more controversial than the food poisoning.
What food poisoning? I've never heard about that story.
Aside, did you go Toy Story?
Talk about it.
And Toy Story for sure.
Yeah, I went Toy Story.
Good. Thank God.
Sam, your best.
It's basically just chosen a live action film with special effects.
It's even on Google's animated list. You're like, oh,
yeah, that's
it's mostly.
Next, we'll be picking Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
But I reckon that's fair.
I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit's more fair than what you just said.
No.
I mean, that means you could pick Flubber.
I'm not arguing with you about this right now.
Sam, your best non-animated or, maybe semi-animated film?
I think I know what Sean's going to go. I'm going to be the odd one out here, but I think I watched this on Ben Simpson's hard drive.
Simpy.
Shout out to Simpy.
Very grateful. A lot of very good films on there. This was He's a Susie! The Usual Suspects.
That is very, very good. And we can contextually say it's good despite the fact that Bryan Singer is a pest.
I thought you were going to say something about Spacey and tossing off.
Also a pest. Jesus. Pests stick together. But Usual Suspects is awesome.
Oh, geez, I don't know if I'm going to recover from that one. I'm going to take. I'm sticking with that line of not the line of sticking outside of what the genre might be, but just the most '90s film here that stood out to me was Jumanji. Got to be Jumanji.
Very 90s.
Honourable mention for me.
It's as with me. So is Usual Suspects. Simon, what's your pick?
I'm just going to look for my list here. Seven. Seven, David Fincher. Pretty spooky, creepy movie that hits you pretty hard. Yeah.
I remember, when I came of, because I definitely didn't watch Seven when it came out, but when I came of age to be able to watch movies like Seven, Lee Kelly just pinning me down and going, "Have you seen Seven yet? Seven's one of the greatest movies ever made." But to be fair, Lee Kelly said that about another film in this list that's an honourable mention for me. Sam, I'm curious before I announce my pick, what you thought my pick was going to be.
Braveheart.
That's the one that Lee Kelly, and for a long time, I actually thought Braveheart was my favourite movie ever, but I've grown, I've matured, and the best film of 1995, in my opinion, is actually Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Haven't seen that in a long time. Didn't love it the first time.
Oh, that is some very, very good Jeremy Irons. Simon says...
I can't believe no one went with Waterworld.
How does Kevin Costner keep getting work? I have a. Can I do a dishonourable mention?
You can. Before we roll into a long list of honourable mentions, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to get to some sequels in gaming. A lot of sequels in gaming, but what a sequel in films? A dishonourable mention. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Oh, wow.
It's got to be one of the worst movies of all time. I think there's a scene where a rhino gives birth to Ace Ventura, or like some rhino suit. It's a weak film.
Robotic rhino.
It's a robotic rhino. I just remember seeing that and just having no idea.
It's
Pat's looking really disappointed, eh? I reckon Pat really likes Ace Ventura.
I love Ace Ventura, yeah.
Pat loved the robotic rhino birth scene.
Unfortunately, Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls is awful, and Ace Ventura: Pet Detective has been cancelled for its transphobia. So you're going to have to park that one, Pat. Yeah. The last scene, he reveals that the main female villain is actually a dude, and then dick shames her.
Finkel / Einhorn.
Yeah, you know. I've got a number of honourable mentions here. I'll start with the animated section, which could be the whole section as long as they've got CGI apparently. But a Goofy movie, underrated animated film, very good coming of age. Goofy trying to get on with his son who thinks he's uncool, which is fair enough because he's a goof. Pocahontas. There's a good story that goes with that film that's got nothing to do with the film but my personal life, but we won't bring that up.
You just did.
We won't bring up the details, I guess. We could probably throw Babe into that category because sometimes that pig was animated. That's my list of animated. Does anyone have any other animated mentions?
Pocahontas was the first movie I ever watched at the cinema.
Oh. Did you like it?
Nah, I nearly fell asleep, and there was a half time.
I miss half times. Especially with what Scorsese's putting out at the moment. I'll just run through my honourable mentions, and if I miss anything, because I've got a big list, so if anyone if I miss anything, I can jump in. We talked about Jumanji, the first Friday film. Good, certainly good for the stoners. Braveheart was mentioned. Mallrats, a cult classic for the nerds. Usual Suspects was mentioned. The couple of a double up here with Hackers and the Net. with films about the internet that don't really actually reflect what the internet was. Teen classic Clueless. I like Clueless. We're going to do a Clueless episode, aren't we? We've talked about it.
Been requested.
Seven mentioned. Casino for all your... that's Scorsese, isn't it? Must be if it's got...
Chino in it.
Yeah, Pacino and De Niro and Pesci and...
Just missing DiCaprio.
Yeah. A really good return to form for the James Bond franchise in GoldenEye. The debut of Pierce Brosnan. It's very good. I highly recommend. Apollo 13.
I feel like Sean's just naming every movie in 1995 here.
Shut your face. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Yes, he is.
And a very popular movie for the podcast, Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, I did see that on the list.
And
I think I've got the one movie Sean didn't mention. I actually didn't really like it when I watched it, but shout out to avid listener Cam Paulick, Tommy Boy.
Oh yeah, that was on my list.
Well, please, if you've got songs, if you've got content on your list, don't let me run through this podcast without letting you get your content out, please.
I was grateful because I had nothing, so that's perfect.
And now it's a television section, and as per Sam's agenda, I get to start this one, so that's good. We got animated, and then we've got best series. So I don't have much to say except that my pick for best animated cartoon or series, Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
That's Clean Sweep.
Clean Sweep.
Right.
Clean sweeps of 1 year.
I think I speak for us all when I say Narf. Yeah, that was great. That was a great show. Just appealed to that kind of nerdy, off the wall humor, I guess. Even when we were real young, you kind of. I'm sure a lot of the jokes would have gone over our heads, but it was fantastic.
I think it speaks to, and I think I've mentioned this before on the pod, where I was like entrenched in your like Batmans, your X-Men, your Gargoyles, your like Captain Planets, your ongoing, series that have this sort of whatever through line. Pinky and the Brain stood out to me as something that I could just, it took me out of that world of which I was accustomed to, and I could just watch every episode. I had such a good time with it. But yeah, so to best live action television series that may or may not have had technology involved, my pick is Father Ted.
The Ted for me.
Yeah.
Clean Sweep, baby.
And I'll just say that had we not covered Father Ted for this podcast, that might not have been the case. But since we did a few episodes on Father Ted, I have watched a lot. And
Nice.
Thank you, fellow podcasters.
Oh, that's a good story. That's a really good story. I've got an honourable mention.
Yeah, go for it.
So I went with Father Ted because it started in 1995. Debuted then. But Seinfeld season 7 is 1995. And that's
in my honourable mentions.
It's my favourite season. It's where George and Jerry have a pact at the start of the season saying that, we're not men, so they've got to grow up type thing. So they have a pact where they'll get engaged. So George gets engaged with Susan and then immediately regrets it and tries to, basically the whole season is him trying to postpone the wedding.
The Susan saga is maybe the best TV ever.
Yeah, followed by the last episode where Susan dies from poisoning from licking all the cheap stamps that George made her buy for their wedding invites. And my favourite TV line possibly ever, the doctor who broke the bad news to George about her death, describes George's reaction in the season 9 finale as restrained jubilation to him telling George that his soon-to-be wife had died. So yeah, that's my honourable mention.
before we get into the rest of everyone's honourable mentions, I had a stat here of the top 5 shows by viewership. It's US, but as we know, if it's top something in the US, it's top something in the world. That's why they have the World Series of Baseball and World Champions of Basketball and all that. So the top 5 shows in order from 1st to 5th in the US in 1995 were ER, Seinfeld, Friends, Caroline in the City, and Monday Night Football.
MENF.
Yes, Sam, Pat, any honourable mentions from you fellas?
That's not really one that would stick in anyone's mind, but we can let everyone behind the curtain. Normally to do these, we just Google whatever the category is and it comes up with a list. Did anyone else get their eye drawn to a TV show called Bible Man that came out in
I saw
1995?
Bible Man's in my list. My list goes Bible Man dash what the fuck.
Yeah. So just going through the Google images as well, I think we might need to try and find a copy of the show and do a podcast on
Change
it.
it up.
Sounds like a good cringe factor to me.
Yeah. We got to be careful. We don't want to antagonize our Bible Man listeners, but
The Bible Belt in America is half our audience, so we better be careful.
it's from memory, and it's been a while, but the synopsis was Bible Man is like a superhero or something who that's it. That's all I remember.
Basically just says Bible Man is an American Christian themed direct to video children's series.
That's it.
Only
We'll come
ones
back
I
to
had-
Bible Man. You got any honourable mentions, Sam?
Only other ones I had were Blue's Clues,
Oh, really?
Dragon Ball.
Which Dragon Ball?
Wow, not Dragon Ball Z, so probably
GT.
not sure.
Dragon Ball's complicated because it's got a Japanese release and then a Western civilization release, but yeah,
Goosebumps
I saw Goosebumps.
and Star Trek Voyager, something that was always on Sky One.
Always.
Followed closely by Stargate, probably. So my honourable mentions obviously had Bible Man, Earthworm Jim, which might come up later. Something that maybe not quite as cringeworthy as Bible Man, but maybe different level of cringeworthy is it's the debut of Baywatch Nights, which was the Baywatch spin-off show where the Hoff ran some sort of nighttime PI service. And I think it's also the debut of Hercules and Xena.
Ooh.
Filmed in Aotearoa.
Kevin Sorbo.
He's also been cancelled.
Has he?
Oh, he's definitely been cancelled.
God.
Yeah. You know what? I think probably his problem is he's watched too much Bible Man. And that, what a perfect segue to our next section, that is gaming, Simon.
Gaming, thank you, Sean. I don't know about you guys, but I found this to be a very weak year for gaming. Compared to 91 and 97, I found this really tricky. And you can probably tell that I found this really tricky because my choice for best game is 3D Pinball for Windows.
But also, what a game.
Yeah. I've literally said in my notes, what a game. Hours and hours of entertainment. Space themed. You had your tilt if you went too hard. A lot of facet, a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous in that game. And thoroughly enjoyed it. I've got a few theories about why it's a weak year, but I'll come back to that after.
Yeah. Just
after
on
your guys.
3D pinball though, it's also a really nice computer-based gaming example of the transition from what we're all used to in MS-DOS to the Microsoft Revolution.
Yeah.
Because I played that on DOS. And I remember having to type shit in to make it load.
See DOS run.
Yeah. Good. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's a good game. But I'm interested to hear what Sam has to say.
Yep. Pretty weak year, but this wasn't my favorite game of the series of games, but it was the original Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal 2 World Tour was the best of the lot, and I think we talked about it in the 1997 podcast.
We did.
The original Twisted Metal, not as good, but very, very good as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there may or may not be a Twisted Metal TV series floating around the ethos. Have you watched it?
There sure is.
I've definitely watched it.
Is it worth watching?
Yeah, it's prior to the deathmatch or the what do you call it? The Unreal Tournament or whatever it is that Calypso sets up. It's okay. If you get through the first 2 episodes, I think actually it's quite good, but it's real odd. The first 2 episodes are real weird acting. It's not bad. It focuses.
Isn't there a big actor sort of running? Is it Anthony Mackie or?
Is Anthony Mackie a big actor? I've never even heard of him.
I can't remember the guy's name. I'll find it, but it's got Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And the main character is John Doe, who's Roadkill, when you clearly could have picked a much better main character than John Doe.
I'm looking it up. John Doe, Anthony Mackie. You've absolutely sledged him. Both of you Blanfords. Pat and I are absolutely reeling. He's the Falcon in the MCU.
That's why I don't know who he is.
He was also the lead of Altered Carbon season 2, which buried that series on Netflix as well.
Again, I'll reiterate, never heard of him.
You'll know when you see
him. He's actually very good. What's the movie where
The Night Before?
The one where they go through doors and it leads you to somewhere else, and you have to have a hash and it makes you an angel. Or no, he's an angel. And
Hey, Sam, keep all this Anthony Mackie stuff in, all right?
This is the Anthony Mackie episode, isn't it?
The only thing I remember him from is 8 Mile.
He is an 8 Mile.
Ah, yeah, good.
Yours?
Yeah, I forgot we're still doing this.
Upper Duck.
My pick for 95 game is this one you used to be able to hire with the PlayStation at like Video Easy. It's like a big little add-on, and it's Time Crisis.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys mugged off games and didn't bring up Time Crisis. Thank God for Pat. Sorry, as you were, Pat.
Yeah, it was a good one from the memories there. Quite hard to get as well. You had to call quite early to try and book it if you wanted it for the weekend. But yeah, great stuff.
My pick is obviously Mortal Kombat 3. What a great game.
Yeah, DZ said you got to put Time Crisis, but it was high on my honourable mentions. That was the arcade game, wasn't it? Arcade game where you shot to the side and then...
But you could also buy the grey gun for your PlayStation.
Yeah.
I tell you who's going to be really upset. Like, just...
Anthony Mackie?
I'm concerned that none of us picked it, and he's our number one sponsor. Jace Toy is a big fan of Tekken 2, and it came out at 95, but as you guys know, I think Tekken is a piece of shit fighter game compared to Mortal Kombat or even Street Fighter. But yeah, Tekken 2 also came out in this year. My only other honorable mention, other than Time Crisis, thank God for Pat, was Star Wars Dark Forces, which, if you like Star Wars, is a great game.
Yeah, I think I've got one honourable mention, but I don't even know if it counts, like NBA Jam Tournament Edition or TE, just because unclear whether it came out, or 94 or 95. That was a great game, of course, and there was a cheat where you could get if you put in a code, you get Juwan Howard, Shaquille O'Neal, Clifford Rosier, and Aerosmith lead singer Steven Tyler. But I never knew about that shit.
What the fuck?
And yeah, I mean, I think overall, Time Crisis obviously really good, and we've mentioned some good games. But when we did 91 and 97, I feel like there was so many more good games, and I just wonder. My theory is that it was like right on the cusp of like the new consoles coming out, PS and N64, and I just wonder they'd kind of given up on the previous iteration of console and were just, putting all their eggs into the PlayStation N64 basket, but those first games weren't as good. Because PlayStation was released in New Zealand or the US in September 1995, so it was right on the cusp of them sort of doing that. So.
One thing I thought about, but I'll look it up now quickly, but like I got my PS1 97, I think, but my favourite game was, well, other than Lomus, and before I got Final Fantasy, was Formula 1 95. But that obviously didn't come out in 95, right?
Can't have.
96, so I just looked it up. And the other thing that I guess fits that theme was, I mentioned before in the film category, was GoldenEye came out in 95, which is a phenomenal Bond film. But that didn't come out on the Nintendo 64 until 97.
We talked about it in our pod, I believe. It's all coming back to me. I think what you say leads a bit of credence. Looking at my list, Simon, 4 of my 7 names are PC games. Command and Conquer, I think, is mainly a PC game. Earthworm Jim, and the other one I thought was Worms. But also Doom came out, I think, just before 1995. But there was a version of Doom that came out in 95.
Interesting time for gaming, the transition. And speaking of transition, sports, moments and teams. We'll start with moments and we'll start with Pat.
Thanks for that. Well, this was going to be a pretty easy sweep again, isn't it? For 95.
Do the quote.
It's obviously going to be when the All Blacks won the 95 World Cup. So it's really fit and healthy, and they won the 95 Rugby World Cup against South Africa. Fantastic moment. It'll be a sweep.
I don't know how to respond to your alternative universe.
Love the alternative universe, though.
Anyway, should we do teams as well?
Bob, you do the quote then.
The America's Cup is now New Zealand's Cup.
That wasn't the quote I was thinking of, but it's a great quote.
What was your quote?
I'm back. I'm back. That's the moment for me, but great moment from Bob and great alternate universe from Pat. What about you, Sam?
Is I'm back Jordan related?
Yeah.
I was just trying to work that out.
I've got all those on my list, and it's not the one that I've chosen. This is just because it sticks in my mind so clearly, and I think I'm going to get poo-pooed for it, but I don't care. It's Daryl Hare no balling Moody 7 times.
That's on my list. That was nearly my top spot. I love it. Love the pick.
Say that again.
Daryl Hare no balling Muralitharan 7 times in one game, and I think it led to, I don't know if Moody ended up bowling like leg spin or something in that game, or
Tunga took them off the field.
I remember that moment specifically. Yep. I didn't know it was 7 times though. I thought he no-balled him twice.
I'm devastated that it didn't even come up in my search. And I've got a lot of cricket notes ahead of me.
Ranatunga took them. I remember he took them off the park. It was a real devastating moment because Murali always looked kind of sad.
Yeah, it always looked sad.
Looked sad.
Even when he walked out of his crease to celebrate that 100 that ended the Sri Lankan innings against New Zealand, he looked a little bit sad.
Yeah. So it was. I remember being really quite emotional, quite sad about that. This poor guy who always looked sad, getting no balled over and over again, even though he was a chucker.
without going too far into this, because I could talk about this for days, Murley and his phenomenal career will consistently be marred by this moment and all the moments that lead from it, right? He's got a lot of wickets, he's got a lot of records, and he is up there in the top tier, like the toppest of tiers, like literally at the very top. But his peers in that echelon, which is pretty much Warren, have 100% straight arm.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, he did toss off a lot of balls in his cricket career.
That's a great pick.
Pat, have you got any honourable mentions before Sean gives us the cliff notes of his his honourable mentions?
So Simon's moments, Murley. What's yours, Sam?
No,
that
my
was-
moment's not.
that was mine.
That's Sam's moment.
His was I'm back.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, apologies. That's the 18 Wellingtonians talking. So our winner for moment is obviously the America's Cup. Good chat. Honourable mentions for moments. Oh shit! No, let's do team and let's just have an honourable mentions for sport.
Yeah, can I just do team first? Just because Pat.
I know who you're going to put, Simon.
Nah, best team. I'm with you, Pat. 95 All Blacks.
Great team.
Probably also because that goes across into John Lowe's rugby as well. Do you reckon that's your most memorable 15? Probably the John Lowe team.
Yeah,
What's
sure.
iconic about that is that the best 15 the All Blacks could put on the field in that year had Michael Jones instead of Mike Brewer. But because of that final and what that meant for John Lowe rugby, we all know who Mike Brewer is.
Mm. Who was yours, Pat? Was that yours too?
No, it wasn't. I'm going to go with Team New Zealand for Bob's already done the moment.
Black Magic.
That's the quote I thought you were requesting, Simon, but I'm back, so good today. Some great stuff on
I loathe the yachting and loathe it then and loathe it now. So even though it is a great quote,
It was. I also loathe yachting, and I hate that it's just this rich wanker sport for rich wankers who grew up being rich wankers and then got sponsored by other rich wankers. At that moment, that quote, that's one of the most 90th New Zealand quotes you could ever hear.
it is.
But it's not my pick for team. My pick for team is the DB bitter Auckland Warriors.
Ooh.
And even though they didn't win the ARL or do that well, they were the first New Zealand-based team to compete in the ARL. They finished 10th, but they only missed the final 8 because they got docked 2 points during the season for an inconsistent substitution in one of their round-robin games.
It was in Australia that game, yeah.
Dennis Betts came in for and who was the other guy? Andy Platt.
Andy Platt. I think I've got an Andy Platt card somewhere in this house.
Andy Platt sucked for the Auckland Warriors. He sucked. Betts was all right. Platt sucked. I like that as a moment, Bob. But I don't know if you can give the best team who got 10th in the NRL. But that's just me.
You not remember when they ran out of the tunnel to the drums and Jimi Hendrix' Voodoo Child was playing?
I remember the moment.
I
remember the moment.
Sorry.
I had.
Sorry, who do you have, Sam?
Yeah, sorry. I was going to go. I had Black Magic on my list. I had the Zimbabwean cricket team winning their first test in 1995. But controversial. The best team I've got is South African rugby team.
Hugh Strunsky.
It's incredible that they made it to the final. Yeah,
Huge moment for.
I can't believe what Matt Damon did for that team, to be honest.
Huge moment for the country.
Half of them are dead now, that team.
Just. Surely Oz is no longer.
No, Oz is still with us, ironically. Chester Williams. Used. one of the flankers. While you're doing that, I've got a couple. I think a real underrated moment is Ian Roberts coming out as gay.
You took it from me, you bastard.
Oh, I thought you'd done. Sorry.
No. I definitely finished the bit. I don't know whether that came in sports or like history or something, but yeah, I carry on, Simon.
That's massive. It's absolutely massive. Real trailblazer, Manly legend, and
weren't they good in '95?
they were fantastic and a courageous individual. So yeah, Ian Roberts coming out for sure.
Yeah. Couple that with the fact that in American football, the first openly gay player came out in 2021.
Al Nasser,
which is just outrageous. He wasn't the first. Like Greg Louganis came out as gay the year before, who would have been quite big. But from our perspective, I wouldn't even know who that was. But I knew who.
I also think Greg Louganis was huge, absolutely huge. But individual sport is not the same as a team sport, I think, as well, right? Like a team sport, it's a lot.
Especially in like the working man's game of Australia, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're coming out while Tina Turner and Jimmy Barnes are screaming to you about being a working class man.
And Cal Ripken Jr. breaking Lou Gehrig's record of 2,170 consecutive appearances is another honourable mention.
That sounds like a great honourable mention. But speaking of moments in sporting history, I've got an honourable mention for you. Sit back. I've written a lot. December 1995. The New Zealand cricket team are due to play the Boland cricket team in a tour match on Christmas Eve.
This is already good.
Days before the game, it's binned due to a dangerous pitch, and the Boland boys invite the New Zealand cricket team to a vineyard, and half the team go. Sitting around, being served some lovely wine, enjoying a few yarns. All of a sudden, a New Zealand player and a Boland player start talking about marijuana. Before you know it, everyone admits they smoke pot. So two guys from the Boland team bring out a massive bag of cannabis and start rolling some joints. And the joints start getting passed around. Dion Nash notices one of the New Zealand boys doesn't partake, and that makes him concerned. But him and Stephen Fleming decide to partake. Where are we? I lost some of my notes. I got so excited.
Anyway, the moral of the story is Danny Morrison's a nut.
Let him record his audio.
They took 3 joints home with them, and they went to Matt Hart's room, and they said, "Look at what we've got." So they get stoned as fuck. Then in the afternoon, there's a barbecue, and everyone has to go. And everyone's quite drunk, but also a few of them are very wasted. Sounds like it was a really good night. Training the next day, and meetings start to happen. Nash, Flem, and Harty all confess that they smoked marijuana. Everyone else denies it. And then they also admit that, Dion Nash at least admits that he has a grudge on anyone who narked. And as it turns out, in 1997, a year that we've already covered, Steve Rickson came in as coach, decided that Legion Mon wasn't fit for captaincy, and that Danny Morrison wasn't a good enough bowler anymore. Quotation marks, good enough bowler. Sounds like a hell of a time in South Africa, if you ask me. History, Sam.
Okay, history. A couple of things have been touched on already. My one, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, but sequinavir, I'm going to go with.
I can't even Google it.
Sequinavir is a treatment that changed the way people viewed HIV/AIDS. It was I did look up and find out exactly what it did, but it became available in December of 1995 for people who had HIV, and it changed the way they could live their lives.
That is mint. Patrick?
I feel bad not just agreeing with them.
Yeah.
With that ending there. But,
I had heaps of other stuff here, though.
It's not that kind of show. I'm gonna steal a line from Norm Macdonald to bring out my biggest history moment. He was on SNL. He used to do the news segment, and he got told to stop doing stuff about OJ. And 1995, he got told he was basically going to get fired if he did. So he opened up his news segment with, "Well, it's official. Murder is now legal in the state of California." So yeah,
Phenomenal.
OJ Simpson not guilty.
Simon?
History moment.
I think most
Yeah.
of my OJ stuff is actually in pop culture for some reason.
It's kind
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Yeah, it is. Nutty thing that I just thought people wouldn't know about. I did because I didn't know about what it was up. The Punchin Lama disappeared. So that's like the person who's the Dalai Lama says you're going to be the next Dalai Lama. Just kidnapped by the Chinese government.
Really?
At the age of like 18 months or something. The Chinese, a great bunch of lads. So yeah, that's my crazy moment that I didn't realise existed.
Not one of our bigger listening catchments, so. Sam?
Oh no, I did mine, Bob. It's your turn.
Sorry. I panicked when Simon went on. I don't want to even talk about the Chinese one. My pick was Windows 95.
Yeah. Windows 95.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Honorable mention. I'll just run through a couple of things. You guys can jump in afterwards. Just, 95 was the second most installed piece of software in 1995. But the biggest video game bigger downloads than Windows 95 was Doom.
Huge.
When you say download, do you mean bought?
I don't know. That's just what the notes say. It says download. So
Downloaded to a floppy disk.
Am I right?
look, it says Windows 95 was the second most installed piece of software on computers in 1995. Doom was first. I guess you bought a CD, plugged it in, and downloaded it, right?
I had PlayStation released.
Mm.
PlayStation 1. Toy Story being the first fully animated movie. Not Casper, I read. Toy Story.
What do you mean? And at first, that doesn't make sense. There were lots of animated films.
Sorry,
right.
digitally animated. Sorry, I meant to say.
Thank you.
Um,
Second after Casper.
yeah, Robbie Williams left Take That in 95.
Mhm. Is anyone else going in a couple of weeks, or just me? Are you still going, Pat?
No, I can't.
You, man.
Anything from you, Pat? History, pop culture?
The only other one I had was Timothy McVeigh bombed the Oklahoma City government building in response to Waco. That was in 95.
I've got the bombing.
Mm.
I've also got, obviously, OJ being acquitted. Also, people probably forgot, but Operation Storm happened in 1995 in the Bosnian War.
Yep.
But
Chirac nuclear testing in the Pacific. That was big for New Zealand, obviously, and Pacific nations.
also, this was the year that Christopher Reeve, the most famous Superman, had his accident with a horse and became a paraplegic, and subsequently did a lot for the research and development in that area after his accident. I actually remember watching that on the news as a superhero stan and like Superman guy as well, and just been like, even though 95 I was like 8 or 9 and old enough to understand the world, I just couldn't comprehend when my parents were trying to tell me that Superman wasn't, like couldn't be Superman. But yeah, those are mine. Any other honourable mentions?
I've got Mount Ruapehu erupting. That was big moment in '95. Rugby going professional as well. And when you said he was the most famous Superman, to me, Superman will always be Dean Cain. But that's
I've already sent Pat a number of the New Adventures of Lois and Clark episodes that we could cover for this. So thank you for bringing up Dean Cain.
That's all I
The
had.
Hawaiian Superman.
Do we need to pick our best thing from this year now?
No, we go into pop culture.
Oh, okay.
What did we just
all
do?
my pop culture and history was all done in that last one.
Yeah, well, I have a pop culture section, and I have the notes I get to go first. So listen to me run quotes. Russian President Boris Yeltsin's first words to US President Bill Clinton upon meeting him in 1995 were, "Do you think OJ did it?" Another quote from 1995. "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." That was defense attorney Johnny Cochran. Another quote from 1995. "No soup for you." Patrick Combs deposited one of those fake winning lottery checks for $95,000. His bank took the deposit, and after several weeks, he took out the cash. Well done to Patrick Combs. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was opened. Newsweek published an article scoffing the future of the internet. It laughed at the idea of people that people would get news, learn, and buy airline tickets online. Dolly, the clone,
That's
as
a
in the
biggie.
sheep,
Yep.
was born on July 5th in 1995 and lived for 7 years. Convict Daniel Luther Hayes discovered that the key pictured on his prisoner's information handbook was the master key for the entire Birrama jail in Darwin, Australia. Another inmate, Shane Baker, was a trained jeweler, replicated the key, and they both escaped. And people have been meeting online via Match.com since 1995. And the number one non-fiction book in 1995 is Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus by John Gray. Simon, you get to start with the fisticuffs over what's the best thing of 1995.
Does anybody else get a pop culture mention?
Oh, sorry. Go back. Everyone else can do whatever they want. I'm sorry, I got excited with all my great notes.
I've only got one thing, but for me, Hessian orange guava.
What?
I'm looking it up.
Hessian orange guava. Make that an acronym.
Pogs. In Pog form.
Old Alf, he's back in Pog form. Yeah, Pogs. But apparently, I didn't know this. The caps of this drink called Passion Orange Guava was where it originated. So I thought that was a nutty thing. And honourable mention for me, Drew Barrymore flashed David Letterman.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
That was a big moment, but that's all I had. I just wanted to give a shout out to Pogs and that wonderful Millhouse quote, remembering Alf being back in Pog form.
In our podcast, that is often back in Pog form. After a little break.
Honourables? Or are we going straight up for the best thing of 95?
No, honourables. Give us your honourables.
I've done all of mine for that. You guys had
Yeah.
a very long list there.
Same.
Be quiet
Very
and
good.
go to Sam. No, Sam's done. All right, back to you, Simon. What's your
Same, but I would just like to have a shout out for those who can't see us because we're doing a video. I'd like to make Simon's shorts an honourable mention, which I believe were probably purchased in 1995 that he's wearing at the moment. That he owned, and then I owned in the late 90s and early 2000s, and now he's wearing in 2023.
Where's the basketball Nike tick? You can't quite see it. Where is that Nike tick? There it is. The basketball Nike tick. Yes.
Oh, that is good. That is very good.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
Simon.
well, I mean, we've done honorable mentions. I'm wearing a 2023 purchase New Kids on the Block t-shirt,
Very
even though
cool.
they've had most of their fame in the late 80s. They were still around in the early 90s.
Sure, they were.
That's a Lee Kelly special. He came out a couple of times. That's Lee Kelly made me watch. For the record, in the early 90s, Lee Kelly made me watch VHS of New Kids on the Block concerts because for some reason, despite him being a like 16, 17, 18-year-old teenager, he still thought they were cool. And here I am.
Simon, what do you think? Best thing?
It's me now. So I was sort of in two minds because Bob's already mentioned this. And I might have brought it up. I was considering it, but I didn't. And so, yeah, Windows 95 was my choice. It's
Very like game changer. Like the move from DOS to Windows is massive, right?
absolutely. It was the dawn of a new age of computers in most homes, in the Western world at least. And it was literally, I mean, if we're talking about 1995, it was literally called Windows 95. Just a few nutty things. The release included a commercial featuring the Rolling Stones' "Start Me Up," which they paid $3 million to the Rolling Stones for. There was
those
30
Microsoft stage videos. Certainly cringe factor worthy episode.
There was a 30-minute promo video labelled a cyber sitcom featuring Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry, which was also released to showcase the features of Windows 95. So it's a good 90s stuff. There's a $200 million advertising campaign which features stories of people waiting in line outside stores to get a copy. And many branches opened of stores at midnight to sell the first copies of the product. There were copies of The Times, the famous newspaper in the UK, that were available for free, and Microsoft paid for 1.5 million issues to advertise massively in the Times, and the Empire State Building was lit to match the colours of the Windows logo. In Canada, a 100-metre banner was hung down the side of the CN Tower in Toronto. And as Sam and I know, the release of Windows 95 included a number of fun stuff items on the CD, including the computer game Hover. What a game.
I was trying to think what that was called.
Can I just add that the window? I just looked it up because I was so excited. The Windows 95 video guide with Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry on VHS goes for 56 minutes. That's actually longer than a Cringe Factor episode can go.
That's 2 Cringe Factor episodes.
Great pick. Phenomenal pick. Blew my mind with some of those stats as well. So I my pick's actually different, but you may have blown my mind with that. We'll go to Sam for his pick.
Yeah, I think I would be happy with Windows 95. I had Gangster's Paradise as winning my 95.
Interesting. Good pick, but again, not my pick. So that's interesting. Pat, your pick?
Yeah, it was originally mine. Gangster's Paradise was my number one thing, but I reckon you've swayed me on Windows 95.
My pick
really
was the OJ Acquittal.
Up there too.
So are we going Windows 95?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Windows 95.
I'm
just typing it in, is more important than
Also, if you had
OJ.
Encarta 95, you could have the
Yes.
same homework as every other kid that had that as well.
Microsoft Golf. Yeah, it was all sorts that went with that. I mean, look, you
Microsoft
could
Golf
argue,
was
you could
mint.
argue lots of other of really good things there. I'm just happier with that pick than I was with our 97 pick of the Spice Girls. Just in general was just the pick, I think. So very happy with our pick this week.
So, did you like Microsoft Golf, Simon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got mugged off a Microsoft Golf in the episode where you did the game show as one of my picks. I think disappointing.
So breaking up old graves, aren't you?
What do you bring up old shit for?
Well, interesting also, just because I got really excited with Encarta 95, but that actually came out in 1994. So,
What Encarta 95 did? Was it like a sports game, like how they do the next year? You put that on the label to make it real fancy.
yeah, your FIFA styles,
Yeah.
unlike your Formula 1 95s, which came out in 96, or your John Lowe Rugby's, which were based on 94, came out in 97. Anyway, so just to recap, 1991, we've got Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, but mainly Michael Jordan. 1997, we have the Spice Girls and just girl power, Spice Mania. And 1995, we're saying that the release of Windows 95 is more important than O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, it's a really good argument. I just O.J. Simpson was definitely like a bigger.
It's a moment, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
but that-
97,
That
where
moment,
sorry, as you were
that
saying.
moment kind of captured the imagination of the world, right? At the time, I just think Windows 95 was probably more of a long-term game changer and like almost like a monopoly of the biggest industry and one of the biggest industries in the world as well. So that's why I plump for that just a little bit over OJ. But look, if somebody said OJ, I certainly wouldn't,
It fits with our theme, right? Like we picked the Spice Girls over the death of Princess Diana, which the death of Princess Diana fits in with the OJ thing, but we're talking long-term impact. Spice Girls are still relevant. Windows, maybe not Windows 95, but the impact that Windows 95 had is still relevant. Because we still go for the next upgrade of Windows, right?
Yeah, sure.
We certainly don't go for the next upgrade of OJ. We let the juice. We let the juice lie.
Passion guava orange. No, passion orange guava. I personally, with the rankings, I've got 95 slotting in just behind 97. And that's not
the overall
rankings. Not looking at Spice Girls, and like the thing that we picked. Just overall, this was quite strong on sport and music, but quite light everywhere else. I thought 97 overall was a bit stronger, but I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I've had an epiphany, and what I'd like to suggest is, once we've finished all 10 years of the 90s, I'd like to do a awards ceremony for all of the 90s, and instead of having categories of, film, this, that, and the other, we can just quickly look over our notes of the 90s and decide which one wins. I'm happy to rank as we go, but I'm finding that quite difficult because I don't remember 91 or 97 right now.
Fair. Pat and Simon?
Well, we're still doing that then, or are we scratching it? Because that seems like a pretty reasonable decision. I reckon it's not going to be Spice Girls. I reckon we're just in behind there. But I can't remember what the other year was like, to be honest. So.
91, yeah, see, it's hard. I mean, maybe if I had a child who slept, I could have looked at my 91 and 97 notes, but I don't.
Just, I think overall, what do you think of 95 after discussing all that, Simon and Pat?
I thought there was a lot of I mean, even sort of the stronger categories, I reckon there wasn't huge amount of depth except for around music, but there was always like just 2 or 3 just real standout things.
It's interesting to I guess to note that this is the first year we've had quite a lot of unanimous decisions.
Is that a good thing?
There was a few. I don't know if is there lacking depth or those things that good.
Does it speak to the quality or to the lack of depth?
And one of them's Pinky in the Brain, for goodness sake. Like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's fair.
Very
Pretty
fair.
great. But.
Yeah, no, I think based on the fact that we had probably one or two unanimous. So we had probably one or two too many unanimous ones. So it's hard to go 97 when the Spice Girls was our number one thing.
Taking off the Spice Girls, eh?
But I just think gaming was pretty darn weak, I think, in this year. So that's why I might put this one dead last.
Ooh. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that or anything right now. See, this is hard. Like I need an hour to look at my notes for 91 and 97 to compare to 95. I think, although what I would say is, and I think I mentioned up top, 95 was a pivotal year for me personally. So I'm going to just throw away all the things I said about considering this, that, and the other and say 95 is my number one.
Wait, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. Something social media, something follow, something wish it was the 90s, something WIWT90S, something mail, and also Slack. And also, most importantly, like, if you really want us to talk about something, tell us, because we will. Recently, we got a big request for an episode of Batman the Animated Series, Joker's Favour, and we did it, and shit, me and Pat had a great time. So if you do want something for us to cover, tell us. We will cover it, unless it's Tekken 2. We've tried, we can't. Also, it's just not that good a fighting game anyway, Jace. Let it go.